So I wanted to go back a little bit and ask about those life jackets. Let's talk a little bit about those life jackets because we can all benefit by the use of them. I'll share one little story with you. My parents rented a house on a lake when I was from like 10 through 20. And I loved sailing, and it was small boats, like small little sailfish, sunnies, not large sailboats. Sorry about that. And so one day, happened to be out with a friend of mine, and I was in my life jacket, which I have shame to tell you was not typical of me at that time. I usually didn't put the life jacket on, but whatever, I did because I knew the wind, something was up. The weather conditions were very changeable that day. And I actually got caught by the boom. That's the part of the sail that keeps the sail up, and it's that heavy part at the bottom. It came over suddenly. I wasn't expecting it, and it caught me in the back of the head, and it literally knocked me flying off the sailboat. And I landed face down in the water, like this little girl that Rick mentioned, but now I'm in the lake face down. And without that life jacket, my friend would not have been able to grab me. Now, at that time, I was a competitive swimmer in probably the best shape of my life. I was a lifeguard, but it didn't matter a whit because I was unconscious in the water. Michael Phelps, in the same situation, unconscious in the water, would have the same problem. So because of that life jacket, I'm here to tell the story today. So Lita, would you talk a little bit about life jackets? Sorry, you're mute. You're on mute. Lita, you're on mute. Still on mute.
Just trying to keep the dogs quiet. Sure. Life jackets. It's in the name. Seriously, life jacket. The U.S. Coast Guard stats say that 86% of people who drown in a recreational boating accident were not wearing a life jacket. 86%. Look at what you're doing, decreasing your odds of drowning just by putting on the proper life jacket. And as you said, people say, oh, I can swim, I don't need a life jacket. They provide buoyancy if you suddenly find yourself in the water. If you have to jump in to save someone else, you don't want to be worrying about your safety when you're trying to save someone else's. Cold water, we're just getting to the point where water is warming up. But if you're boating and end up in the water in the spring or the fall, you're going to be too cold, you're going to be fatigued, or you may have an injury. Life jackets are also important for people who are disabled, people who are weak, and very young children. I think everybody should be wearing a life jacket, but somebody says, oh, I've heard these stories. Oh, my kid goes to camp. He's 8 years old. He knows how to swim. He's a goldfish. He's a minnow. He's a whale or whatever. I'm like, he still needs a life jacket. Life jackets aren't all the same. So I've seen life jackets at like the dollar store. Please don't buy life jackets unless they're Coast Guard approved and they're for the intended activity. The life that you wear in the lake is not going to be the same life jacket that you wear on the Atlantic Ocean. I just said to somebody the other day, skimp on your bathing suit, skimp on your flip-flops, don't skimp on the life jacket. It's very important when you're buying a life jacket. Sometimes people say, oh, I see the weight chart. I see, oh, this is the chest size. I'm going to buy it. Don't buy it. Try it on. If you're buying it for a child, try it on the child. You've got to make sure that it fits. You don't want to have a situation when you're out on the boat with your 7-year-old who goes, it bothers me here and it doesn't fit me here. And that's not the time. Check it out in the store. Make sure it's adjustable. And also, if it's you or if it's raise your hands or the other person's hands and tug on the life jacket. Make sure that that life jacket isn't going to come up over the nose or the mouth. What's the point of trying to prevent drowning if the person is in the water with their mouth and their nose covered? So it's very important. It's not always required by law, but you should wear a life jacket when you leave the shore, unless you're in a cabin. If you're in a cabin, don't wear a life jacket. But other than that, what I preach is if you're leaving the shore, you should have your life jacket on. And I just want to tell one story because it's just left an impression in my mind. There was a reader of ours. She actually wrote her story for us. She was good. She found life jackets. She did everything she could. She ordered them from the store after they perused them. They were delivered to her. She brings them to the boat. She's got this nice stack of life jackets that came in plastic. Each one of them was in plastic. And she stores them in a cabinet. They had an emergency. They're taking on water. They're trying to rip the plastic off each individual life jacket and figuring out whose is whose. I don't know about you, anybody on the panel, but plastic's getting harder and harder for me to rip all the time. And here, this is an emergency. There's a drowning situation and they're ripping off plastic. So have your life jackets in an accessible place, preferably on, but otherwise make sure they're labeled or different colors so each person knows whose is whose. And if your boat's on fire or you're taking on water, there's no time to scurry around and look for things. Just have them right by or preferably on you.
Okay.
Shawn, can I add to
Sure.
a little bit about the life jackets also? Especially in those people that live in the coast or not in the coast, but if they have a boat, I'm sure if they're not aware of regulations as far as in everybody, there's supposed to be enough life jackets on a boat to cover everybody. But if not, I just posted a link to CETO Foundation with help to build life jacket loaner stations. They have a scholarship. They will actually pay for it. You can apply and they will build it at your marina, at your beach, whatever. So I posted a link. It's right there to their website and to their program. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate that. Anything that you would add, also as a boater in terms of the life jacket that
Use them.
Yeah.
I see as a non-water safety expert, again, I find myself on the boat and sometimes kind of get a little complacent when it comes to life jackets, not when it comes to children, but my wife doesn't know how to swim. And so, she used to be scared to death of boats, but I think she trusts me. So that's why, lack of fear. But the biggest thing is have them that covers all the sizes, make sure they're Coast Guard approved. And if you're not sure if they're Coast Guard approved, it's real simple. Just go to the Coast Guard website and it's all right there. All the information's right there. Just because it might have a Coast Guard emblem on it or it says something, looks good. But the other part too is if they're old, raggedy, moldy, whatever, pitch them, throw them away. If they're all wet under your cushions, get them out, dry them so they don't mold, because they will break down and they won't be so buoyant. And if you ever needed them, it won't work. I believe in the Great Lakes region, they have never had a drowning victim who had a life jacket on. And
how telling is that?
yeah, exactly. And and you're talking about the Great Lakes, like Lake Michigan and stuff like that. Here it is June, July. You can still get hypothermia in those lakes at this time of year. And so from that standpoint, but they can send a distress call, but another boat can rescue. But because they have a life jacket on, they're buoyant, they're above water. Like I said earlier, drowning takes place underwater. Without a life jacket, you're going under.
Aiden, surfers wear life jackets? No. Why not?
No, not life jackets. Well, because you wouldn't be able to surf. If you have a life jacket on, you can't lay on the board, you can't pop up properly, you wouldn't be able to do it. I've seen with some really, really young, not with our surf nonprofit, but with some of the surf schools, I've seen some really, really young children, and I've seen them with something, I don't know if it's something special that they'd have on, but I mean, your flotation device with surfing is your board. And it's attached to you, it's tethered to you with a leash. pretty strong leash. Now that can pop, and this is where water safety education comes in. And one of the reasons why you have to have some swimming skills and water safety knowledge before we take you. I know there are a lot of surf schools that will say that you don't need to know how to swim in order to come out. And for the most part, these guys are pretty good. I mean, the Scootins are like watermen. They're amazing, amazing water people, and they know what they're doing. But it can happen in anything. So what they usually do with the inexperienced swimmers or anybody else is they'll keep them in the white water, right? Up to the knees, and kind of keep them there. And it's a one-on-one thing. It's one instructor per, and that's what we do. We do have some kids. We've been fortunate the last couple of years. A lot of our kids that we that we accept, not only can they swim, but they were swimming competitively, even if it's just for a year on a team or something else, and when they're in the water, it's a one-on-one instruction. It's not like, I know some people will do 3-to-1, 4-to-1. We don't do stuff like, we have one-on-one. We have lifeguards on the beach watching, water safety. We have people on the land as they come in with the boards to help them and then get them back to somebody. So there's no point where that particular child is left alone. It's all, but for the moment, surfers don't. And I have heard some stories from some of the, surfers who've been surfing out there for a while. I think a lot of these surfers who've, anybody who's been surfing over 5-10 years and they surf in big swells can tell you their life and their stories. We had a few years ago one surfer who drowned. The pylons that are in the water when you high tide, you can't see it. We've been begging for one on Beach 67th Street. We finally got one to tell you, a marker to tell you where those things are. One guy went out by himself, and that's the other thing. Going out by yourself, I don't care how good of a swimmer you are, how great of a swimmer you are. You go out in a big hurricane swell and you're out there by yourself, that's a risk. He went out, his leash got caught up in the wood pylon, and he drowned. You go out with your board. Some of these guys have these really nice, fancy fiberglass boards. You go out, those things can crack in half. That's all you have. And if you're out there and there's this huge swell and these rip tides, getting back to shore is not, you may not make it back. So that's the other thing. Just, never swim alone, never surf alone. If you go out to surf and there's nobody else in the water, go back home.
That should be a clue. Maybe there's a good reason.
Because surfers will go out in anything. But if you get out there and there's nobody in the water, you shouldn't be out there. Go with a buddy, go with a group.
And I just want to be sensitive to our time now too, because we're really into this, and we could go for hours, but we're coming to about 7:15. So I would like each of us, if you would, to just shout out one or two takeaway tips, and then if there are any questions coming up from the audience, we could try to tackle those before we come to a close. So let's see, who shall we start with? Rick. Go. One or two takeaways, please.
Yay me. I got a lot, but I will just really quickly just turn around and just say one of the takeaways I really, really believe, and you've probably heard me mention it several times, is education's got to be the key number one factor on everything. It needs to be uniformed. We should have some type of federal, state, local government agency that's setting the laws, the requirements, what is mandating, and then holding people accountable to those laws. They have done that in other industries involving safety issues with accidents and deaths, and they have made a dent in the numbers. Unfortunately, I always say that we have too many chiefs and not enough Indians in water safety. And so from that standpoint, we all know that is a critical problem that, we have. The data doesn't lie, but the problem is if you drown, if you want to be counted as a drowning number, die today. Don't wait till tomorrow or the next day, because you will not be counted in those numbers. And so from that standpoint, you'll be passed by. And so that's another reason why. So we all know that if there's 4,000 people a year that drown here in the United States, double that. The number's probably double, if not more than that, because of what is reported. The other part is we need to make drowning a national trauma base. In other words, so when somebody drowns, they go to the hospital, they can bill it And then from that standpoint, we will begin to track the data and the accidents, just like the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety does with automobiles. We need to do the same thing with water safety and drowning.
Thank you very much, Rick. Lydia, one or two quick tip takeaways.
So my tip takeaway, one, I would like to say that because I work in a more controlled environment rather than, the beaches like everyone else on this panel have worked with. It's really interesting to hear certain stories about, the wave patterns and like how many people have drowned recently. It's crazy. But I want a lot of people to understand really what dry drowning is, and to also share on how important that is rather than actual drowning, because it can happen way more frequently than actual drowning.
Thank you so much for that. Aiden?
One quick takeaway, and then just obviously something that I want to talk about. Quick takeaway is, the ocean can give you so much, but you have to respect the ocean. There's something in surfing that we always talk about is just never turn your back on the water. And this is so true. Really have respect for it, because it's powerful. I mean, it's vast, it's powerful. I don't care how strong of a swimmer you are, you can go out, you can cramp up, anything can happen. So really, really, really respect the water. The second thing, obviously, is the bill that's being passed. And there are a number of organizations, including Shawn, Swim Strong, and us, and Surf Rider, and other people that you may be familiar with. I would say and this is only for New York right now, we hope that it gets passed, and then eventually, like Rick said, it goes nationwide, that is mandated to have water safety education in all the schools. If they start learning from kindergarten, pre-K on up, I think it'll help a lot. So that's my second take is, go to the website, go to ours, the link should be out there, and sign this and let your elected officials know that, this is something that you want. If you live anywhere in New York State, New York City, Long Island, wherever, just, go ahead and sign it. It's really, really quick. It takes 30 seconds. Once you put your zip code in, it'll populate your elected official. You just put in your name, it goes right to them, and they know that you're serious about getting this thing passed.
Thank you so much, Aiden. Rita?
You said Lita, right?
Yes, please.
Thank you. I've got two things quick to say. One is about education, and one is about alcohol. 70% of all fatalities that occur on boats occur when the operator hasn't received any boating safety instruction. Again, talking about keeping you out of the water, learn how to avoid accidents, learn the rules of the road, make sure that you know how to keep yourself and your passengers safe. And if you have regular people that come on the boat with you all the time, they should take the boating safety course too. Second thing is about alcohol. There's a mindset with a lot of boaters that boats and alcohol just go together. It's my boat, I can drink, I can do what I want. Well, boats, like cars, can kill you and can kill other people. When you're out on the water, strong suns, winds, the rolling of the boat, that causes something that's called boater's fatigue. Now add alcohol to that, or legal or illegal substances, and you can't make snap judgments. You can't protect yourself. You can't follow directions. If I'm the captain and I'm telling you to do this and you're looking off there and not paying any attention, well, it's not good. And I wouldn't trust a spotter to watch out for somebody in the water if they're inebriated. So please, what I say to people all the time is, if you want to drink on your boat, drink at the dock and sleep there overnight.
Say that about swimming also. Water and adult beverages or recreational other things, they just don't mix. They just simply don't mix, because we become impaired. And the water situation itself can exacerbate that impairment, right? Water temperature alone plays a lot, when you're inebriated and then you're getting into either very hot water, like it would be if you were in a hot tub, or very cold water if you're getting into the ocean at this time of the year. That's going to be a detriment, that combination. And boy, you work with the fire department, Loycent, right? So, what would you say about that combination of alcohol and water? Have you seen any statistics or even experienced any situations where you've been, having to rescue people who are inebriated and shouldn't be in the water?
Oh, I've worked with in the special operations in hazmat, that side of it. We do have the Marine unit who, just the other day, 118 people had to be evacuated off of the one of the ferries. So they would respond, and it was funny. They were coming from another incident. I think it was maybe what's it called? Those those things, water crafts.
The jet skis.
Jet skis, yeah. So they were coming from another incident, and then they went to that. So it's like it's picking up, but I'm not on that side of it. However, we do have different units that work in areas around the water that are trained to respond to cold water rescue. So when things are iced over, those little ponds like Baisley Pond and these different little bodies of water, people get drown in them. In the winter time, the ice breaks, they go under, and we also during the summertime, things happen. So, but to me specifically, having an interaction with alcohol and rescuing someone on the water because of it.
Thank you. And just to tagline onto the pond issue, particularly in the winter, we don't realize just how prevalent accidents are in the wintertime as it relates to ponds. Last year, between New Jersey and New York, we had 7 deaths of people falling through the water. It's just really, that's even less on our radar. And I don't know how many saves there were. Those are just the deaths. So, it's really important to understand if you're going to step out onto the ice, you better know what you're stepping on to and whether or not it's thick enough to hold you. And if you do fall through, how do you self-rescue? We've got a great video in one of our trainings, and we have some training that's available for families or individuals too. But this training is this guy who's at a pike fishing company. He fully clothed jumps into a hole and shows you how to get yourself out. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. God bless him. And then, you see the emergency services, the EMT truck, all warming them up afterwards because, you're nuts. But I wouldn't have known otherwise. I learned a lot from that video, believe me, in any event. So thank you all very much for participating. Are there any questions in the chat? We have like 1 quick minute to just see if we can snag a question, and then we'll do a wrap up.
Well, I see this one here from Joanna. She was asking about life jackets about dogs. I have 2 dogs. I have a golden retriever and a black lab, and yes, they wear life jackets. Just make sure you have the right size for their weight and size. But they will always have a life jacket on the boat.
They should have a handle on the back too, so it's easier to hook the dog up.
Yeah, they're heavy when they're wet.
Yeah, Shawn, if you want to scroll through the chat and just there's a bunch of questions like rapid fire, kind of, one person take one each maybe.
Yeah, there's a question about phobia of getting over the phobia of water, Shawn. You want to?
I didn't see it, so I'm not as facile.
Yeah, it's how do one get over their phobia of water?
You want to take a stab at that, Lydia? Because I know you.
Yes, I have a great example to use. My mother, for instance, she wouldn't she had a past history of, almost drowning when she was in Jamaica. So she wouldn't let the water touch her knees. So with that is, her mind is very fragile of it happening again. So she kind of puts herself in a different mindset. So for us, I would, take it a step forward. Be very gentle with her, discuss the water safety rules first, and then gradually take her in the water, see how it feels. And then gradually we go from the waist, then fully into her full body being into the water. So that's what I would do to get rid of their phobia for sure. We won't take them over to the deep end, just stick to the shallow for a quick minute.
And I think too, people who have an experience, in their youth and they've carried this burden with them, are to be applauded for stepping into taking swimming classes later in life, because
Right.
you really are, confronting a real fear and understanding what is the environment that I'm about to put myself in is one of the ways that, you help to orient people and help them understand that environment, that in fact, our bodies are a little different
Right.
outside of the water than they are inside of the water. Certain things that we do outside of the water, even in how we breathe, do not breathe the same way when we're in the water.
Inside. Correct.
Don't move our legs in the same way when we're in the water. How it feels to move through the water in that viscousness of the water, and how freeing that really is. Once you start to connect those dots in your mind, you start to realize that, ooh, wait a minute, I may actually have a little control too in this water, and then start to build the skills around the control, and you can see that that fear starting to be broken apart and broken through. And there is nothing better than that as far as I'm concerned. Anything else that anyone saw in the chat that you might quickly?
Well, Joanna, she also mentioned about government initiatives such as pool safety. So the answer to that is yes, government needs to be involved, not only on your local and state level, but also the federal level in all areas of water safety. We need more of it.
Okay, well, just to be respectful of our time then, I want to thank our panelists very much for their participation and paying forward your knowledge to our community, our Neir's Tavern community today. And we hope everyone has a safe and healthy summer ahead of them, safe in, on, and around the water. And Loycent, do you want to take it to a wrap? You're on mute. There you go.
That's the t-shirt. I'm coming out next. You're on mute. No, this is this was very enlightening. We have a lot of good takeaways here, and hopefully Facebook allow a few of our 5,000 people on this Facebook page to see it. The algorithm is a monster, but we'll definitely be sharing it through our email list as well for people that would like to watch and skim through some of the things that you guys said. So hopefully it'll help prevent a drowning, this summer. Thank you for everything you do, and thank you for all of the panelists that's here today. I mean, incredible information.
Thank you.
Very well. Thank you.
Bye.
All right.